Hello, all, and welcome to the Fantasy and Sci-Fi Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Coolbaugh. Today, I have me a very special guest, Megan Haskell. Megan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
No, thank you for coming. I'm excited to have you on, get to talk to you about your books, Kickstarters, all those kind of fun things. People are going to be like, Dan is on a Kickstarter kick lately. It just happens, guys. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But I am interested in it because I'm going to try and do one myself next year, or the winter after that. So I'm actually really excited to talk about it. So I loved yours, the last one. It looked absolutely amazing. So can't wait to pick your brain today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, of course. Thank you for having me. Yeah, the Kickstarter journey is intense, but it's good.
Yeah. That's fair. I told my friend Alan yesterday, I was like, I have like Herman Stewart Angle and a couple people that I had like a couple other ones that have like people have done quite a few, and I'm using them as like a coaching team. It's like I will give you all the free swag you guys want. I said you can help me, with this Kickstarter. So I can't wait to kind of formulate that, and hopefully we do pretty well. But we'll start there with that first question. What has your writing journey been like up until this point?
So if we're going to go back to the beginning, go all the way back. No, so I actually was not one of those people that like always knew they wanted to be a writer. In fact, I thought I was a terrible creative writer for a long time. In high school, I got a bad grade on a short story assignment, mainly because I tried to write a novel in the space of a short story and it didn't work very well. So,
that's fair.
All fairness to my teacher, it was fine. No, so I was actually working, I have an undergraduate finance degree. And so I was working as an accountant, a forensic accountant in one of the big accounting firms in LA and living in Long Beach. And so I was taking the train and I needed sort of a creative outlet from number crunching and spreadsheets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was a huge reader, so I decided I was going to try and start writing. And so I would actually write on the train to and from work. And it started out, I had a urban organic gardening blog. I did a book review blog. I would write little short stories about the people on the train. So it was really casual, but eventually tried my hand at a novel, finished that, 3 or 4 attempts later, finished a novel. It was terrible, didn't publish it. And then in 2012, I had my first daughter. And so I decided I was going to quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom, or a work-from-home mom, and decided to take the writing more seriously. And so that's when I came up with the idea for the character that would become Rie from The Last Descendant, my debut novel. And 3 years later, just before I had my second daughter, I published that novel. And I went the indie route because I knew that as a, undergraduate business minor, I'd always wanted to run my own business. And I knew I could be a good project manager, and I knew I could, do the whole production line and do it well. So I decided to go indie. I never even tried to get an agent or a publisher or anything like that.
Yeah.
And now, 10 years later, here we are.
That's awesome. You guys always run the best Kickstarters, in my opinion, with those degrees. Like and it's funny because I'll see something and I'm like, oh, I really like that. And I'm always like trying to explain those kind of skills to my students, particularly for like design and stuff. And I'm like, I'll show them sometimes. I'll be like, which of these Kickstarters do you think is better? And I'm like, why? Right. And it's really funny to see them. Right. But a lot of them I work at a tech school, so they're working on, some different things, but a lot of them have a lot of different design classes and things that are leading into engineering or, different things, CIS, computer information systems, stuff like that. So, but it's always interesting to show them how you can apply those types of skills into something like a Kickstarter or a book, or, just making sure that everything looks really appealing, or, attracts people to it. So it's interesting because they all love Kickstarter. They buy different stuff or games or whatever. So I don't know. It's cool to be able to use that medium to show, where, these are where these skills can lead you. And I don't know. It kind of makes it for a fun time to teach it to them because I get to go on Kickstarter too. And a lot of times they'll show me, different things that, maybe I wouldn't have backed, without them because it's a different age and audience and stuff. So it's interesting.
Well, yeah. And it's interesting too, because I think one of the things that gets overlooked a lot in self-publishing. And I actually don't like the term self-publishing. I prefer indie, but when people think of self-publishing, they think of someone who just writes a book and then publishes it, period, end of story. And then, they put it up on Amazon and, maybe it's going to do great, maybe it's not. But that's actually, if you're doing it, quote unquote, right, with the intention of sales, with the intention of turning it into a business and earning an income, getting people to pay for your writing, that changes the dynamic. And so really to be an indie author, you have to have lots and lots of hats, and you have to have lots and lots of skills. And so in my case, like having that business degree was huge, and working as an accountant for years, like spreadsheets, I'm not afraid of spreadsheets. I'm not afraid of doing timelines and project management. I know what a Gantt chart is, these things that like people who come at it purely from the creative side might not know. And so I was able to incorporate all that. But even if you do come from a purely creative side, you might have, visual design skills that I'm learning. You might have other skills too. And so being able to bring all that in and always being a lifelong learner and figuring out what is the next skill I need to acquire so that I can do this thing better has been a huge part of my journey as well. It's always about trying something new, experimenting, seeing what works, what feels right to me as a creator, because what works for me is not necessarily what's going to work for you, or for, other author down the street. Yep. We all have different skill sets, and it's how you combine those things that makes you as a creator and you as a business person unique. And sorry, my opinion here, but that's what's going to save the creative industry in the future. It's, that's what makes it AI proof, is the fact that we as humans can bring together these, disparate skills and different perspectives that, make us who we are and make us attractive to potential customers as well.
Yeah. No, I think that makes total sense. Yeah, that's like kids ask me all the time for reading or art or whatever, and I'm like, I definitely think in the future, like Amazon's going to have to, I think it's just like, you can't, like historically, right, you can't put technology back in the box. So I definitely think that there are going to be people, I think that Amazon eventually is going to have to be like, these are 100% human written, these are AI/human, these are just AI. I really think it's going to end up like having to be divided that way. And then all your subgenres and categories, I think it's going to end up being a filter on Amazon eventually, just with, I don't know. I just think that's where it's going to go. But yeah, I always try to like today, like I had a thing I was like trying, and I was like, I was trying to find some cool videos because my kids are making board games in history using the 5 characteristics of a civilization. And AI was like, oh yeah, these are great videos. I was like, oh, okay. These seem cooler than the ones I was going to use as examples. And I go to look them up and they're not even videos. like AI thought I would ChatGPT thought I was going to create the videos. I'm like, no, I was looking for current ones. And so I went back to like my old ones, that I've used quite a bit as like a DM or something like that for D&D or Forgotten Realms. And because we're trying to show like different religions, gods, iconography, things like that, they can incorporate into their own civilization. But it was just like, I just pointed out to him, I was like, I use ChatGPT, and that was my fault because it didn't actually like give me the information I needed. That was all I needed, was like, like good videos to like help to broaden their horizons, for games or board games, video games, stuff like that. And yeah, I had no idea what I was talking about, so I could have just done the work myself. So I told him, I was like, that's the catch-22, I think, when it comes to that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's really hard, like you said, like I like the human aspect personally, especially with art or with books or even something like that. So I think that makes total sense.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like I use AI as a tool, right? Like I use it to do research on things that I don't want to spend the time doing research on, and it can compile the data a lot faster than I can. But when it comes to the creative output, I don't think it does as good a job, and I think you have to, that's the human element, and it's I don't know if you've heard the term, but the artisan age. Which I think is what Kickstarter really appeals to, are these people who want to do things maybe in a more traditional way, or in a more handmade way, or in a more human way, if you want to use, that kind of language around it, and reach customers on a more direct basis, where you're actually building a community, where you're actually building connections, and people are investing in you as a person, as a creator, not just wanting to read the book. Because if they just wanted to read the book, they could get it on Amazon, and maybe in a few months, but they could just do that, right? They don't have to invest in you as a creator and buy your, fancy hardcover editions or whatever, unless they really believe in the product and your creative, insight and spark and all of that. So, I think that's where it's going to go. It's like, we all have that. If you want to be a creator, there will be ways to continue to do well as a creator. You just have to figure out what that looks like for you.
Yeah. I think it makes total sense. I was trying to explain to my friend. I was like, he goes, well, there's no one who wants to read my book. I'm like, there are 7.3 billion people in the world. I was like, you may have
Somebody
to.
does.
Yeah, I'm like, I had a friend who he did okay, right? But then somebody was like, oh, we want to like do German translation. And he was dark fantasy. He was like, okay, I've seen some people do well. And then boom, I mean, he was like just killing it there. And then that like allowed him to, have some money to do some other things. He reinvested into different covers, different that, and then did other translations. And yeah, like 3 of his books like took off. So I was like, you might just need a different language. You just never know. So it was really interesting. So, but I definitely think that the people are out there. We got to find them. It's really difficult. But I like Kickstarter because it knows me, right? So it knows I like comics, knows I like books, it knows what type. So it'll, I love Concrete Comics and they're so cool, and Acolyte's a great character for them. So I backed one of theirs over the summer and as like a birthday present, but they sent me like a different one from a different company, same style art that I like, similar characters, but it was so cool that Kickstarter did that. I was like, sold.
Yep.
But it knew me, right? So I love Kickstarter for that because it'll send me like similar ones, and it sends me similar genre books too that I like or I back. So I think it's really, really helpful.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
speaking of genre, what genres do you currently write in and why?
So I write fantasy, big, broad, right? So my 3 series are actually each different. And despite being, at least 2 of them are connected. So the original series, the Senyare Chronicles, which was my completed series, debut series, it's action adventure fantasy. So kick-ass heroine, she's got carnivorous pixie sidekicks. It's all martial arts, kind of that influenced by urban fantasy, but it's almost entirely secondary worlds, so in the Fey realms. Faster paced, single point of view character, that kind of action adventure storyline. Then I decided I was going to go back and write the history of that world. And so I did that. So it's a prequel that's 3,000 years prior, but it's epic fantasy, multi-point of view, like full-on, big, sweeping, intra-realm stakes, war. Although there's also a bar fight, magical weapons, the whole shebang. And so that's the epic fantasy series. And so those 2 are related, but they actually have a little bit different look and feel. Some of the same characters. I think I get a lot of crossover from readers who just like my writing style and they like to know more about this world and they like the depth, which is what I give them at that. But it is 2 different subgenres, which you could argue was a marketing mistake. And we can talk about that later if you'd like.
It's interesting because to me, I'm like, Warhammer anybody, right? Like you go like, I don't know. I think it's cool.
Well, and it is. And I think when you have good IP, good intellectual property, you can cross genres like that and do well. For me, I'm still fairly small, relatively unknown. I mean, obviously I'm not Warhammer. So it was tough. So I'm actually, the Kickstarter I'm running right now is for the 2nd book in that trilogy. And I released the first one back in 2020 and it suffered from timing. Things were going on in the world at the time. And so it's taken me a while to continue, but that was also part of it, was like trying to convince people that, hey, this isn't necessarily that same fast-paced action adventure, single point of view fantasy, but it's still really good. And it's gotten a couple awards, and so I'm very proud of it. So
that's awesome.
That's what's running right now. And then also because of COVID, I kind of was inspired at one point. I needed I thought I needed lighter, but apparently I can't really write truly light fantasy or cozy fantasy. Like that just doesn't gel with me. So I wrote a contemporary fantasy So she's a Laguna Beach bartender who can see, interact with, and travel to the realm of the gods. And it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit witchy. It's a little bit, it's urban, right? It's set here near me in Laguna Beach, California,
Oh, cool.
and a lot of magic. That whole thing, but totally separate, totally different look and feel. Did not come out. I thought she's a bartender. It's going to be a found family in the bar, and came out a little bit darker because apparently I can't do cozy, but it's kind of cozy. It's like cozy dark cozy. I don't know if that's the thing,
Oh,
but
I like
yeah.
dark cozy. It's just Eberron right there. Like it was all dark cozy fantasy. I love it. So I would totally buy that. Yeah. If you sell
Yeah,
it
it's a
that
lot of
way, I'm
it's a lot of fun because it's and the other thing too is I'm not a bartender, but I have a good friend who is a bartender, and so he actually helped me write a cocktail menu and recipe book
that's cool.
to that goes along with the book, so you can actually
Yeah.
make cocktails that the characters make and drink in the book.
Oh, that's cool.
And so again, it was like it's cozy, but she's got a lot of psychological trauma, so
And now
go
we have
for
a
it.
bartender, folks. I was a bartender, I get it.
Yeah. So anyway,
Awesome.
so yeah, so those are the subgenres that I write in. But I have discovered that for me creatively, I really do have to like. There's two sides of my brain. There's the business person brain that thinks about marketing and that thinks about how am I going to sell this book? How am I going to appeal to readers? All those things. And then there's the creative side of my brain, which is an entirely different animal. And she really kind of has to follow where the heart is, so to speak, right? Like where is my interest? What is appealing to me in the moment? And I think that's why my three series are different. Like for me to write, like some authors can do 20 books in a series and they're all the same characters and it's all the same world and it's all the same feel and voice, and that's phenomenal for marketing. That doesn't work for my creative brain. My creative brain says, nope, I'm not going to do that anymore. Have fun. And I have to go back and rethink things. But I think that's what makes it kind of interesting. And hopefully if you like my writing, you'll like all my stuff. But it's kind of, yeah, I don't limit myself. So if, in the future, I've talked about maybe someday I'm going to write sci-fi because I've always loved reading sci-fi too. And so maybe I do an action adventure sci-fi series, maybe with a pen name, maybe not. Maybe it'll still just be, the same. And if you like me, then you like me. If you don't, then you don't. I don't know.
I love when people. I really enjoy when I find an author that I enjoy. Like Clayton Snyder's like one of those. Like I'll read Clayton's dark fantasy, grim dark. I'll read his like urban fantasy. He had Cold West, which was one of my favorite books ever. Which is like a mix of western, sci-fi, fantasy, and horror.
Hmm.
And it was just amazing. So, but he's done some other things, and he always like mixes genres. So you could say he's over here and over here. But I love when I love a writer, somebody's writing so much or tone or how they develop characters or the world building they do, where it doesn't matter what genre they're in. That's like my favorite thing. I feel like it's
Yeah.
like the perfect flavor of whatever you want taste wise, right? Like, and it's just like you just like have you're just like like, and it's just
Yeah.
awesome. So I love when people are able to do that and to cross different genres, and still keep what I enjoy about them, and their writing and their characters. So that's like the best feeling, I think.
Yeah.
It's really
Well, and hopefully I've achieved that with my books, but I think that's for me, that's the goal, right? It's
yeah.
being able to, and as a reader, I love when I find writers like that as well, because as a reader, I'm not a read 20 books in the same subgenre all in a row. Like I get bored, even if they're great books, I get bored because the content is too much the same.
Yep.
And so if you can find those authors that you love their style, but you want different characters or side stories or depth or whatever. Yeah, being able to do that. And so that is, I think, my goal as a writer is to develop these series and these worlds that some of which, like the Seigneurie Chronicles and the War of the Nine Fairy Realms, are connected, some of which may not be, but ultimately, that my writing style is such that you still enjoy the story because it's still the same level of world building. It's still the same character development. It's still the same, kind of unique take on subject matter that that comes out of my brain.
Yeah, yeah. I think that makes total sense. Well, speaking of Sonora Chronicles, can you tell us
Mhm.
what they're about and how you came up with this idea?
Sure. So she is a human raised by elves in the High Court of Fairy, and she's framed for treason. So she has to flee behind enemy lines to prove her innocence before the High Elf King, you know, catches up with her. And she has carnivorous pixie sidekicks. So you can think like Tinkerbell with teeth or piranhas with wings, all the snark and sass, but a lot more violent. It's definitely action adventure. There's a bit of gore, sort of the Marvel style violence throughout the series. But yeah, she came to me, like I said. So my first daughter had been born. She was about 2 or 3 months old, and I sort of just had. I think it was a dream, or maybe it was just one of those like sleep deprived moments when I was like in that zombie mode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but the character came to me. So Rie came to me first, and I could picture her. And I knew she was a human, but she lived in this magical world. And I knew that she had abilities that no one recognized in her. And then through that, I started to go asking the what if questions or the whys, right? So why is she in the fairy realms? Like, what if her maybe she has foster parents? Okay, what do they do? Where are they in society? Like, how is this interaction? Why is it that she has these skills? Humans are not, treated the same as the other elves. They're, second or third class citizens. So why does she have military training or martial arts training? And I just kept asking questions. How are these worlds connected? Is there more than one fairy world? How do they get back and forth? Are they connected to Earth? What era of Earth are they? And I just kept going and going and going. And so that's really how that story developed. It was just me having a character and then asking all the questions about her and around her and using that to write a story. And a lot of it was character led. Like, I don't outline typically. I mean, I'll have a few scenes or tentpole moments, as they call them, and I'll have story beats, but it's not like a full outline by any stretch of the imagination. And so I just kind of let the characters tell me what the next thing, like, how are they reacting? I try to sit in that character and figure out what is their point of view? What is their motivation? Why are they doing this thing? If this thing happens, how are they going to react? And that's how I wrote that first book.
Oh, that's really cool. I just love
Yeah.
like,
So
yeah, like
yeah,
Hannibal Pix.
it's kind of one of those things. Oh yeah, the carnivorous pixies are a crowd favorite or a crowd not favorite, depending. But it's kind of like either love them or you hate them.
Yeah.
My favorite 1-star review is just yuck, and I think they probably just read the first chapter of the first book. So just yuck, 1 star, yuck. You know what? Not for you. It's good. That's fine.
It's on my 2026 reading list, so that's like my friend was like, "This is your thing." I'm like, "Okay, cheers." That's how I found you, actually. So
Ah, there we go. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think your the first Kickstarter is going around or whatever, and yeah, he was like, "Yep, this is your book." I'm like, "All right, cool." So yeah, I was looking into it. I was like, "Yes, it's definitely my thing." So yeah, it's on my 2026 reading list. So and
Awesome.
that you
Well, you'll have
saying
to let me know
about
what you
chapter
think.
one. Yeah, yeah. You say that about chapter one has me even more excited now. So that's awesome. I'm gonna review them all.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get caught up on reviews from this past year. But yeah, I'm gonna review them all. So I'll send it to you. That sounds really cool.
Oh,
Definitely
excellent.
my kind of thing.
Awesome.
So for our next question, so what are the War of the Nine Fairy Realms books about, and what did you focus on the most when it came to their world building?
Oh,
That cut out.
kind of cut out there. Sorry, but I have the question. So the Nine Fairy Realms. So with that one, it was because I had finished the Signori Chronicles. I had all this world building in my head, and I thought readers would like to know about it. It was a lot that never made it on the page for various reasons, and I work really hard to try never to info dump. This is like a pet peeve of mine, so I really try hard. But that meant that I had a lot of information that maybe was alluded to but never actually explained. So I also wanted to kind of challenge myself, I think, with writing an epic. Something that was longer, something that was multi-point of view, something that was from both the hero and the antagonist's point of view. Um, and so yeah, so that's kind of where that came from. So it is the history of the Nine Fairy Realms. It's how so in the Seigneury Chronicles, the reason why Rie is framed for treason is because she sort of breaks the law of this treaty that was developed between the Nine Fairy Realms. And I never explain how that treaty was developed. I mean, there was a war, there was a battle between the Nine Realms, but you don't really know what happened other than that the end result was that the realms were separated from communication and from travel, with the exception of very few, sort of VIP diplomat kind of people, right? So kind of like going into North Korea. You don't do it, right? And so yeah, so what I wanted to tell that story, and that's where it came from. So there's some of the same characters because they're elves and they essentially live forever. Not really, but essentially. And so a few of the same characters. It's got the mentor character from the Seigneury Chronicles as well. And he's kind of he's an ancient guy, and he's a foreseer. So he has this ability to kind of see the future and predict the different outcomes, see all, kind of navigate things and guide how history develops, essentially. So he's involved in this book, and it's Rie's foster parents, Caruthanor and Lewin, high elves, who are both kind of nobodies, really. Caruthanor is the son of the greatest smith of the Nine Fairy Realms, but he doesn't really want to be a smith. He doesn't want to follow in his father's footsteps. He wants to be a soldier. He enjoys going out into the practice yard and testing out all the brand new weapons. And so he's sent on a mission to get iron for the forge for a magical enchanted sword for King Othin, the High King. But like I said, he's kind of a nobody. He other than being the son of a smith, he's just doing his job. And then Lewin is actually the handmaiden to the princess, the high elf princess, and she's a seamstress, and she's a bit of an enchantress, but she's never really focused on her magic to a great extent. She can make charms and things, and she thinks she's on this diplomatic mission into the Shadow Realm, but really the princess is trying to, catch herself a king for a husband. And so they're just people. They're just doing their jobs, and they kind of get caught up in these bigger intra-realm conflicts and have to kind of find their way. And the decisions that they make affect everything else. And it's kind of a story about how these people who seem to have no power ultimately influence the greater war, the greater outcome, and the future of their realms. And that's why I say, that true heroes aren't necessarily born. They rise from the shadows to claim the light. That's the whole kind of crux of it, is that we all have, through our daily decisions, we all influence everything around us. So that's where that all came from. It's the history of that world. And for the fans of the Seigneury Chronicles, it has a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of little tidbits that you'll pick up on. Kind of origin story stuff that, you wouldn't necessarily see from the Seigneury Chronicles, but you'll see, you'll kind of get the background. But for new readers as well, you're not going to miss anything if you haven't read the Seigneury Chronicles. And I did that very intentionally so that I'm telling the story, but now it's its own unique universe or its own unique story as well. They're connected, but they're not required reading, if that makes sense.
Well, it sounds like a cool way to get people to try and enter the world at a different point. So I think that's really neat.
Yeah, I hope so.
No, I like it from both aspects. So I'm trying to do something similar where I'm doing something, yeah, like kind of Warhammer-ish like that. And I like that where you can enter either way.
Hmm.
But I like how you kind of centered and focus a little bit more on different subgenres too. Maybe other people don't like it as much, but I think that's really cool.
Cool.
So that's really neat. So that's really interesting. And then for the next one, because I want to talk about this one. So, what are the Rise of Lilith books about, and what did you focus on most when it came to the characters and their development through those books?
So, like I said, so that's my contemporary fantasy. And this was my like mental break during COVID. And it actually started because I was watching YouTube videos on different myths and legends. And I came across one about Lilith. And I'm talking about the original pre-biblical Lilith, from Kabbalistic Judaism, stories. And I was kind of just captivated by this idea of this woman who was the first wife of Adam, who was his equal, had been created by God equally, not out of Adam's rib, but equally in the creation story, and then wanted to be her own self, and Adam wasn't happy about that, so she left. And these angels came after her and tried to get her to come back, and she wasn't having any of it. She's like, no, I am an independent person. I'm going to go off on my own. And so I rewrote that origin story for my world and kind of did it in a way to like say, okay, so if that was true, if there's this woman out there who was the first wife of Adam and who had children at some point, what would that look like? You would actually have two sort of separate lines of humanity. And so from that came the descendants of Lilith, the daughters of Lilith. And so as I was developing this world, I really wanted it to be, I like portal fantasy. I like leaving the ordinary and going into the extraordinary, and traveling between different realms or different universes. And so for her, if that origin story was true, then the gods were real. And what were the gods? And I say God with little g, not big G, right? So, how were they developed? What was their origin story? And in my world, it was they developed based on the worship of man. So meaning if a human said, hey, you're the sun god, this is the sun god, and then that they would become the sun god, and that would change them throughout history. So I took a lot of inspiration from the crossovers between pantheons. So Norse mythology has a lot of similarities to Greek mythology, has a lot of similarities to Egyptian mythology. There's a lot of connections that can be made there. So my theory was that, well, maybe they're the same gods, they've just been changed by the different cultures and different time periods and sort of that kind of a thing. And so I really thought that for these characters, it's all about change. And again, how the different interactions with different people and different situations can alter your perception. So for this book, Lil is, like I said, a bartender in Laguna Beach who can see these spiritual influences on humanity. Now, in my world, the gods are separated. They can't directly go to Earth, not like the Iron Druid Chronicles, Kevin Hearn, if you've read that. Yeah. In his world, the gods actually can visit Earth. In my world, that's not true. They're separated, but these descendants of Lilith have the ability to see their influence on people, so they can kind of send these like minions sort of things. They're not necessarily gods or spirits, but they're kind of messengers, I guess. And so she can see that, and she has the ability to travel to that realm of the gods and actually talk to the gods directly through that realm. So that's where the portal aspect of it comes in. And so it's very heavily mythology based, but for the characters, again, if Lil had this ability and didn't know about it, right? So her mom, I did the whole backstory, right? Her mom tried to protect her from this, never wanted to have these abilities herself, always wanted to just be normal. And so actually tried to disconnect her connection to the gods and to the aether is what I call it. And the big accident happened. Her brother, her mom cut her. It was like a whole trauma. This is where I said it gets a little dark. And so then all of a sudden she has this ability. And so she's a teenager, and she all of a sudden has this ability to see these spiritual influences. Everybody thinks she's crazy. She doesn't know she's not supposed to talk about it. And then, so she gets institutionalized for a while. And she comes out the other side knowing she can do this, but still not talking about it, trying to ignore it or appease the spirits or, depending on the situation. And so the first book is her learning really to accept her own abilities, to accept help from friends, and to this found family aspect of the bar. That did make it through into my first cozy version. That actually, I did keep the found family. And so she has to kind of figure out who she really is with these abilities and come to terms with the fact that no, she's not normal, and that's okay. And there are people out there who will accept her regardless and love her regardless, and that she can actually be a positive influence on the world around her. All couched in a lovely adventure where she has to go up against the Norse god of the ocean, because that's what we do.
Yeah. No, I hope that's what we do. That's awesome. Um, yeah, that was my other one. It was like really hard to pick, like, and it's been great for my 2026 list. Is like there's so many people. I'm like, do I do go with this book one or do I go here? And it's been difficult, but that was my other one. I was like, gosh, that sounds really, really interesting. And my friend's like, you just want it because you used to be a bartender. I was like, no, I don't. It's like that job. I'm glad I don't do that now. But yeah, I was like, might have some nightmares of it, but that's where dark cozy fantasy maybe it meets for me. So I think that's really cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love the
yeah.
story of Lilith. I love how people are doing so many different things with that. I'm a history teacher, so and a historian. I love when people take myths and do something new with them. It's cool. It's like they're passing on the torch from other people's and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really, really neat to see. But I'm looking forward to that one too. But that was my second one. It was like really hard. So I was like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'll get to the other one. But I put other ones like that were hard for me as like palate cleansers for some other ones if I like have some trouble because I always
Yeah.
need palate cleanser books. So yeah, I was
Yep.
like, I'll just do double like authors that I liked for 2026. So
There you go.
yes, I got
Yeah.
that one waiting in the wings. So I
Yeah.
might have to,
Well, and that's
yeah.
and that's as a writer, I mean, that's really what it was. It was kind of a palate cleanser after having written
Mm,
this heavy epic and then being stuck
yeah.
in COVID. It was like, and I know, like I said, it was supposed to be in my head when I was writing it. I was like, oh no, this is going to be a light, cozy, like fun story, and it got dark anyway. But it was that palate cleanser, going back to the single point of view instead of having the multi
Mm,
point of view with where you're trying to figure out all these political stakes and intrigue and interactions with characters. Like, oh no, it's a single point of view. She's got a bar, she's got friends. Like, it's
that's awesome.
easy.
Wait, like COVID, right? Like you kind of wanted the bar and friends, right? 'Cause you couldn't go
Right?
do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
When I sell it
awesome.
live in person, I always say, no, this is my COVID project because I needed a drink, so I wrote myself a bartender.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's very fair. Maybe I'll have to do that tonight instead. Because that's like that with my day. Everybody was great today. I'm just like tired and yeah, God, just like
Yeah.
a cocktail just sounds so good right now. With a good book, so we'll have to maybe have a bartender in it. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So I know we're winding down on time, but I definitely got to ask this for you. So when it comes to magic systems, what do you focus on the most and why?
So I've always been attracted to the elemental magic systems. So
Interesting.
earth, air, water, fire, and then I usually add in soul and spirit as well. So
Cool.
six. Um, and then I think for me the focus is always trying to just make sure it stays consistent. So what can specific characters do within that magic? So not every character who's a fire mage, for example, will be able to use fire in the same way.
Oh,
So it might be like if they touch something, they can heat it up, like water, make water boil, right? Or some might be able to light a fire from a distance, right? So different um, interpretations or different expressions of
yeah.
that magic, but staying true to the character, number one, and then staying true to the rules of the world, number two. So, you can't have, you can have a character that has multiple magic systems in the Seniari Chronicles, for example, but it's because they were born from, it's like, ethnicity, right? Like if German Americans because you
Oh,
had
yeah.
German ancestry and American ancestry and you're both, or something like that, right? Like so it's kind of that combination, but making sure that whatever their expression of that skill is, that stays true to that character, so that they don't um, break the third, like break just the, what is it, suspension of disbelief. You want to make sure that
Yeah.
your readers can suspend their disbelief. And even when you're dealing with magic, you need to make the magic feel real. And in order
Yeah.
to make the magic feel real, it has to stay consistent. So consistency is key. So for me, that's what it is. I don't get too deep into, like with Sanderson, right? He, what specific rune gets drawn or how these
Yeah.
things, like I don't get that deep into it. So I'm kind of like in the middle between a true hard magic system and just a hand wavium, anybody can do anything. I'm like somewhere kind of in the middle. But for me as a reader, I always figure so long as it's consistent, then I can suspend my disbelief. And I don't need to know all those details because I'm not going to be able to do magic. And the rest of the people in that world, they would know their own magic, but not necessarily anybody else's.
That's
so
true.
it kind of, just so long as you stay consistent within that is where I come from, how I treat my magic systems.
Dang, that was a really good answer.
Thank you.
Go back and rewatch that part just alone. You have me thinking some different things now about some things that I'm doing or things that I like. So that's probably the best answer I've gotten so far on that question, just so you know. This is
Well,
five
thank you.
seasons, so I'm gonna
No,
definitely
actually,
make sure that's a segment. So awesome.
well, if you're into magic systems, I will recommend. There's oh shoot. I'm gonna have to. Do I have it here?
Oh, I love props.
I will send you a link. I have a book. MD Presley, my friend Matt Presley, wrote a book. It's world building for fantasy fans and writers or something like that.
Okay.
Fantastic. And he has a whole, like, it's like the textbook on how to do world building, but there's a
that's
whole section on magic systems and
that's
how to
cool.
develop the different kinds and all this stuff. And he's phenomenal. That book is phenomenal. I highly recommend it.
Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds definitely like my kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it's like I told him it's like the textbook I wish I had in our creative writing class because it's just so brilliant when it comes to world building.
My kids keep asking me, like, can you teach us creative writing? And I'm like, we can teach one thing out of our subject area. And my friend, she's like, oh, I'd like to do that. We could do it as a joint thing. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. And I have like, I'm totally blanking on the author now. One of the Forgotten Realms authors did like how to do your own, like, oh no, it was actually Orson Scott Card did how to like write frightening monsters or something like that. So it's like world building for monsters. So yeah, it would be cool to do like something like that for them, like world building or and then put creatures in it or something and then characters or something as like part of the course. So I'm gonna have to
absolutely
check that out and maybe we'll add that to the list for next year. That'd be really, really cool. Now, if you could help any of your characters in any of your books, which one would it be and what would you be doing?
Okay, so I actually really had to think about this question a lot. Like a lot. And so this is going to be a little bit of an off the wall answer, but
That's
the
fine.
mentor character in the Senyari Chronicles and the War of the Nine Fairy Realms, and I wrote a novella from his perspective too. I call it the early adventure. It's name is Broken Honor. It's the early adventure of Lord Garamayan Senyaro, and that he is this ancient elf who has multiple magical abilities, but he has foresight, so he can see the future. He has past sight, so he can actually see what has happened in the past as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So the Broken Honor is my retelling of the myth of Fenrir. So he is the god, or not god, but he is the character who originally trapped Fenrir and lost his hand in Fenrir's mouth. Sorry, spoiler alert, I guess, a little. If you don't know the myth of Fenrir, that's probably going to be a surprise
That's
to you.
wild, guys. Yeah, that's your beef.
But in any case, so he is kind of this he's sort of a fan favorite character, but he's this very like eccentric kind of guy. In the Senyari Chronicles, he lives in this estate in Laguna Beach. I had him live on Earth. He married a human woman, and has always stayed, like, she died because, mortal, but he's always stayed on Earth sort of in her memory. He has all these kids who all have different magical abilities. And and he's kind of gets lost in himself sometimes because he's always seeing the different futures, and he's
Oh, yeah,
always
yeah.
kind of trying to figure out what the next move is. He's like a master chess player, kind of a thing. And so my thought is that he could use an assistant, and
That's
I would be a really good assistant for someone like that.
cool story now. Like you should write yourself in as his assistant, like at some point. That's awesome. That's a really good answer. I would read that actually. That'd be cool though to like yeah, to like do the interacting parts and have him get lost and then have to come back and have you
Yeah,
be the assistant. That's really cool.
yeah, yeah,
Really neat.
exactly.
It's a great answer.
Well, thank you.
Wow, what a way to end today. Those are great answers. That's really awesome. I have to think about that. That's like a really that's like a, it's like that's like a deep answer because yeah, like you never really consider some of the Rick Riordan characters for the Greek gods or whatever. Like, yeah, would you be able to be like you and me now, right? Like, oh, I have an interview at this time or something, or would you
Right?
just get lost in your omnipotence or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's like it's a really good point to think
Yeah.
about. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
you don't want to get lost in the timeline. You got to
Yeah,
figure out where
yeah.
you are, what's happening, where, what's coming next, but not too much and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Oh, I like that a lot. That's
And
gonna
I'm
get
good
me
with
thinking.
spreadsheets. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why gods use spreadsheets, guys. Um, there's a T-shirt for you. Boom. Next Kickstarter.
There you go.
I put it up in the tier. I would totally buy that. Sounds awesome. Well, that is an amazing answer. That's gonna really keep me thinking on my drive home before my writing session. So thank you. Yeah, I got some different things going on. I was like stuck on my current novella, like fixing my fifth draft. So I've been having some fun with some dragons and stuff in my urban fantasy. So that's going to actually make me think about a couple things differently for that
There you
story now. So I
go. There you
appreciate
go.
that. It's one reason why I do these. People are like, I'm like, yeah, I like other people and stuff and their stuff, and from a reader standpoint, but from a writer standpoint, things you guys say just like get my mind a whirl. And I'm just like, I'm a cultural diffuse person. I need other people to bounce ideas or just to talk
Mhm.
about theirs, and then it kind of sparks me. So I
Yeah,
encourage
absolutely.
other people to do that. Yeah, that's why I like podcasts. Listening too, I go on and listen to a bunch. But
Yep.
yeah, that's really cool. Sorry, I got to focus now because I don't have an assistant like the
There you
goblin.
go. There you go.
But do you mind telling us any news, updates, current projects, anything like that that you can share with us?
Well, yeah. So right now, as we're recording this, I am very close to funding my current Kickstarter, which is for the second book in the War of the Nine Fairy Realms, the epic fantasy. And so it's a lot of fun. This one, the tagline is Vengeance cuts deep, but secrets cut deeper.
Ooh.
Or no, sorry, vengeance burns hot, but secrets cut deeper. Gotta
Oh,
get it. Anyway, I haven't actually said that out loud. I've written it down about 10 million times, but
either one are awesome. It's fine.
yeah. Yeah, so vengeance burns hot, but secrets cut deeper. And it is so it will be a trilogy. So this is the second book, and I'm doing the Kickstarter for the new release. So it's a Kickstarter-First new release of Quenched in Secrets, but it's also to fund hardcover editions, a small print run of hardcover editions. And so I'm doing like high quality prints. I was gonna do print on demand, but I wasn't happy with the quality.
Hmm.
And as I mentioned several times now throughout this, like the background that I have, I want to produce the best quality product I can, and I couldn't justify the print on demand. It just didn't sit right with me. So I am funding hardcovers. They will be section sewn bindings. If we meet our first stretch goal, which is not too far out of reach, actually, we'll do sprayed edges. I've got other stretch goals for custom end papers and chapter headers, like beautiful chapter headers designed by my friend Jessica Kernis. She's an artist, fabulous. And so yeah, so I'm doing nice, high quality special editions of both books in that series as well. So that's what's ongoing right now. But my next year or two are going to be really, really busy. So that's what's right now. I'll be doing another special edition of the third book in the Senyari Chronicles next year. Already have the art for that. It's gorgeous.
Very cool.
And And then I'm going to do the third book in the Lilith series. It's going to be called Aether Burned. Also, already have the art for that. Apparently, I like to get the art early.
I do it too. I totally get it. I love it.
Yeah,
It helps me.
it does, right? It really does. So, Aether Burned will probably be coming out. I'm already about halfway done with the draft. So it'll probably be coming out end of next year is kind of my goal with that one. And then I think I'm gonna, for the time being, kind of switch back and forth. So I'll be doing Aether Burned and then outlining and prepping the third book in the trilogy, titled TBD. So next couple years, very busy for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. I love the art. Your Kickstarters are always put together really well. You're one of the ones that I study for my own. So people should definitely go and click on the link in the description. So please make sure you do that. Please make sure to review any of Megan's products as well, anywhere where you find them. Don't forget, Kickstarter loves feedback as well. It's awesome to get that tag, right? Kickstarters that we love. That helps people out in the future. So keep those kind of things in mind. We just want to keep reviewing and helping out everybody, whether it's comics, books, different things like that, Kickstarters, whatever. Audiobooks, those kind of things helps everybody in the process. So thank you everybody for checking us out. Megan, if you need anything else in the meantime, let me know and be furiously working away tonight and tomorrow to get everything prepped. So I'm actually really excited to help you in the campaign process. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I'm glad we could work that out for you. But yeah, if there's anything else I can do, just send it my way and I'll get it out there. Anybody else you can send me stuff and I'll post it in our podcast Facebook group. Everybody's welcome to join. The link's down in the description as well. You can always email or send me stuff if you're shy or just busy or whatever. I get it. I have all my systems in place, but yeah, it's open to everybody. But yeah, Megan, if you need anything else, in the meantime, just let me know and we'll get it done for you. So
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
yeah, no, thank you so much. Well, you have a good rest of the day and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.